welcome. Okay, so I hope the lunch was good. I hope you got some coffee, and we're gonna kick off this next session with some very exciting participants and members that I'm honored to have. It's a fire chat, and we're gonna talk about education, and more specifically about the future of education. And first of all, I would like to introduce the panel. So we have the former president of Bulgaria, Mr. Rosen Plevneliev, a good friend and a wonderful visionary and a leader, I would say, in Europe when it comes to the education and where we see technology is going. Also, very honored to have Dr. Sharma from India that is doing some amazing thing, and I had the opportunity to visit in India to see how India is accelerating and taking a lead both in technology education and specifically in the health science area. And last but not least, a good friend that you already heard a presentation, Mr. Imtiaz, that heads MedTech. He's the executive director for the National Technology Enterprise Company. By the way, I forgot to say that Dr. Sharma is the managing director and CEO of the Andhra Pradesh MedTech Zone, AMTZ. Okay, so someone broke a glass there. That's a good start, kickstart of this session. So I would like to have a honest discussion about education future. And a few things, just some opening remarks. You all observe today a lot of technology. And some of this technology, I've heard during the coffee breaks and the lunch, that it's running very, very fast. In fact, many educators told me and other organizations that you didn't know this is possible to do what we demonstrated today. This is during a time where we see challenges facing education, youth. Post-pandemic, we've seen many academic institutions in the United States that are struggling financially, struggling with low intake of students, and facing some headwinds in the months and year to come. At the same time, we see our technologies running fast, I would say, racing, and we also see an increasing gap between what technology can offer and where education actually is today. I mean, this is not new. I'm an historian. I'm not a historian, but I'm a fan of history archaeology. And if you go back to the invention of the printing press, you know, we went from a position where books were handwritten and was laborious to do copies to a very inexpensive way to share information. And as we all know, the consequence of that was years of social conflict, inequality, and disruption. I also would say that until the whole education system was revolutionized to keep up, ultimately we had the new generation university and school. It took time to catch up, and it's not unusual that technology disruption does that. Today, we are facing a similar race between education and technology. A recent McKinsey study report has already told us that a third of the population could be replaced by automation. And I would say those figures are old. We kind of look at 40%, right? And it's a paradox because at the same time we are promised an era of abundance with things like growth per capita. How do you calculate capita when 9 of 10 people are robots? So that's where we're going towards. Anyway, but our discussion will be a little bit more narrowly focused on 3 questions that I would like to pose and work through to get your views on. And the first question, I wonder what would be your ideal vision of a functioning future-ready education system look like? And in your view, how far are we from such a vision? And just to be fair, I will start from Dr. Sharma and I'll move with the team in a just chronological fashion. Dr. Sharma, please.
Thank you, Dan, for having us here. And if you would have started with His Excellency the President, the answer could have been shorter. But I would like to, yes. Now, look at what constitutes education. Education, as you rightly mentioned, is a societal form of capturing what happened in the past, the knowledge that society accumulated in the past, and presenting them to the society in the present. Now, less than 1% of our education is futuristic. Whether it's architecture or medical technology or clinical medicine or geography or history or economics, it's all about amassing information from the past and trying to figure out for people who are at this moment in the present. Now, AR, VR, Metaverse has this unique opportunity to bring the future into education, which today is less than 1%. All the diseases that we teach in our hospitals, in our training colleges, and I come from a medical industry, so we didn't predict COVID, which means we were not futuristic. We only taught students diseases that already happened in the past. We had no clue what's going to happen in future. And unless we embed into educational portfolio of various knowledge segments, what future is going to be like, simulating environments, stimulating threats, stimulating challenges, our education in no branch of science or arts would be futuristic. So I'm only presenting the challenge, but the opportunity is that less than 1% of our education should be what comes from the past. 99% of it should be futuristic, because we have to live in the future, not in the past. Now, you rightly mentioned GDP per capita, and we deal in health economics this all the time. There is nothing called knowledge per capita. We still measure knowledge of society in very rudimentary literacy rates. I mean, what is literacy? Pardon me, but there are countries where going to a primary school could be considered literate, and then there are countries where doing a postgraduate course might not be literate enough. No, because they live in different domains of growth. In Singapore, for example, you need to have an advanced degree to even survive. But you can survive with a primary school education, 5th grade or 6th grade in Bhutan. Now, how do we define literacy? And therefore, the second wonderful opportunity that you have and all of us have with you is to create a very contemporary definition of knowledge per capita. So I'll stop there with these 2 points. And
now, thank you so much. And I've had a personal experience of what you preach, you also do plentiful, and I'll come back to that in my next question. But I'm very keen to hear Mr. President's view on this, and I know that you have daily discussions about these topics. Please.
Thank you, Dan. Let me first surprise you with 2 topics very quickly. You don't know about them. The one is I'm coming from Baku. You know about that. Yesterday we had a meeting with at least 20 former heads of state and government in Baku, debating about the future of peace building. And of course that is very much linked to tolerance, understanding, dialogue, which you should learn, and you can learn. But everybody was telling me, why do you run so fast to go to Istanbul? Because I'm going to the EON event. Aha! You want to be with Dan together? Greetings, greetings. So the president of Croatia was sending greetings to you, and many other prime ministers and presidents, because really I want to tell you how proud I am to be here, just because you guys are a world-leading company, an organization, and a lot of people trust you, believe in you, and work with you, and that is truly great. Another thing you don't know about me, Dan, is that I was a minister, I was a president, I was an entrepreneur. but I was a computer programmer a long time ago.
Okay.
And do you know what
We
was
share
my
that.
diploma work? My diploma work back at the Technical University in Sofia was back in 1989, artificial intelligence.
Wow.
Yes, and you may ask and say, did you believe in that back in 1989? You wrote diploma work on artificial intelligence? Honestly speaking, I wasn't quite sure about where this is going to go. But it was a very interesting point, and I've done it. So that's my passion. Let's be open-minded. And the rise of the machines is something great, very positive. And speaking now very briefly about the future of education, how do I see that? It's very simply, I have a 4-year-old boy, and one day I discovered he spent some time on YouTube. He's looking at some video. It's 4 years old. And then he starts talking to me on Vietnamese. I say, what is this? Yes. And then suddenly I discovered that the artificial intelligence systems of YouTube discovered that he prefers, in the way he handles the whole story, some videos that are made or linked to. And now I would say if he spends 2 hours a day looking some children's video, half of them, and I'm trying to find with the artificial intelligence systems of YouTube to change the language because it comes on Vietnamese. But the positive about that is that a 4-year-old boy is so open-minded. He gets the languages for free. He has a totally different background than myself. And it goes with this artificial intelligence in a way extremely efficiently. So my point is very clear, that the future is here. EON has all the reasons to be very proud about what you do, because you're just accelerating your development of instruments that in the future will be globally active, accepted, very efficient, but they're already here. And I'm very proud of just being also here, not just to share, but also to listen and also to learn from you. And again, when I have 20 presidents yesterday that are all telling me, yes, virtual reality, augmented reality, artificial intelligence is something we have to do as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And let's start with the young. Just open their horizon, give them the skills, give them the knowledge. I'm very positive that we're on the right track. And again, I want to send another message, because when I said I'm going to Istanbul, first of all, we had a video message from the former Prime Minister Binali Yildirim, but also we had a physical presence of the top 3 diplomat of Turkey. His name is Volkan Bozkır, who is, and he was, the chairman of the World Parliament. He was the chairman of the 72nd United Nations General Assembly. He said, where do you go? I say, I go to Istanbul. I want to come with you next time, please. I know about those guys. I want to be with you. So next time we'll be bigger. Our family will grow, definitely, because we have a passion about something that is going to change the world for good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, and I really appreciate your comments and also your support in this process. Before I give it to Imtiaz, just a quick one, because one question, I'm very sometimes very practical. I'm thinking, what did I learn in school, and which of the things that I spend 70–80% of the time will be relevant? And as I go down the list, most of things become irrelevant. Because when I went to, took my 2 degrees, I have a degree in computer science, I have a master in aerospace, and I never finished my PhD, but I learned, facts about different things. Those are rendered useless because you can find those facts very easy. I learned math, but a lot of this math I can actually grasp today with AI. So I'm feeling that, and it's a bit like selling shoes when you go to a place that doesn't have shoes. Some people say, call back and say, this is hopeless, this place, whatever that is, because nobody wears shoes. That's one perspective. And the other perspective is, this is an amazing place because there's a huge opportunity because nobody wears shoes. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that when you look through that list and come to the conclusion that almost 90% is not relevant information, you can despair as a professor, as a teacher, and say that, what can I add? I will be replaced by machines. That's one way to look at it. The way I prefer to look at it is that we're going to stand on the shoulders of giants, and we're going to use our talents in a much more elevated way as a tool set to help us. And I'll just, sorry, I don't want to steal the thunder here, but I want to give you a concrete example. I'm an artist, so I paint a lot. So what I did is, I don't know how many of, I think I asked this question before, how many use text prompt to create a piece of art. So I can say, I use the example, Tesla robot in Malibu doing something like, I don't know, surfing. And immediately, and I want it in Matisse style. So perfect Matisse painting comes out with that in 1 second. What would have taken me hours or weeks to create. So I said, okay, what's the value of me? But the value is that within 1 week, I created paintings with a depth that my imagination could not do. So I use it as a tool. So I think the challenge, going back to the question here, is, in my humble opinion, is the ideal vision is to embrace the technology when applicable and be creative about where this makes sense so we advance rather than try to feel frustrated over being replaced. Sorry, I couldn't resist that one. And that, to repeat the question, what would be your ideal vision and future-ready education system look like, and how far are we from that point, Imtiaz?
Thank you very much indeed. I'll be honest, I definitely can't articulate myself as well as Dr. Sharma, and the depth and breadth and knowledge from Mr. President is far beyond me. But I think the simplest bit I could say is I have no idea where our end journey is really far beyond mine and maybe a lot of people as of today, because our journey really boils down to, as Dan mentioned, our creativity, our understanding where we want to go. But the one thing that I try and remind myself is what I need to achieve today. What do I need to try and do to bridge some of the skill gaps that are currently being developed as we speak? If an individual that is leaving a company or leaving a school or leaving a university and they require 3 to 5 years of training and skills development to bring them to a competence level that makes them an added value component within the gears of that organization, that's 3 years, 5 years, way too long. What I need to try and do is try and develop a system, a mindset, and of course with digital transformation, AI, blockchain, all of these new technologies that are coming in, and the 4.0, these are the issues that are going to be more complicated. So if I can turn around and actually bring creativity, bring in teamwork, bring in communication, bring in entrepreneurism from a grassroots level, from children as young as 4, all the way to an individual that's just leaving a university, that mindset changes. And this is what we need to try and do to bring the skill gap smaller. So coming back to the answer, I don't know where I need to be, but I do know where are some of my pain points at the moment, and we need to try and address that through technologies like EON and many, many more. Because I don't think EON and others out there are the holy grail. I think there are an important part of our learning journey. And the best bit of one thing that I've learned from EON and working with Dan over the last few years, it's a continual development. And I think a testament to the EON development team and Dan's team is that they don't stop on their laurels. It is constantly looking at the product, trying to see how we can improve, what can we do better, how can we actually listen to the customer's needs and understand what are their pain points to address the product. And a good example is that the last year, 3 or 4 products that have come into a market which have been only brought up into design phase, it was I think we discussed this the year before. So within a very short period of time, it's become reality. And then, of course, we got 2 more coming out in the next year, and this is only going to just get better. So in essence, no idea, but I think we got a nice journey together.
I think you're very humble, because I see you actually leading and implementing this with organization after organization. So thank you for that, and thank you for your guidance in this process. Now, Dr. Sharma, if we adhere to the theory that there is an increasing gap between technology and education, how do you see this specific? I would like to hear your view in India, because I know you're doing some amazing work, and feel free to share with us and the audience a little bit what you're doing there. How can this gap be bridged on a larger scale? You and I talk about, instead of 50,000, let's start with 500,000 students. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
So more about my work, I'm also going to share in a separate presentation, and I don't want to take the suspense away. Yeah. But look, a wonderful gentleman just came in, picked up the glasses that broke a while ago. Okay. He came quietly with a mopping stick, picked up those glasses and walked out, right? Keeping all of us safe. Now, vaccines that we all took for COVID also come in glass vials. And glass vials on a vaccine production line breaks. Can you walk in with a mopping stick on a vaccine roller to pick up broken vials? No. You need robotics. Okay. Now, because it's a robotic arm that can come pick up those pieces, and that does happen. Now, picking that microgranule cannot be done by human. That's robotics. That's micromachining. But we still cannot predict when the vials would break, when the machines would wear and tear, when they would give way to a disaster. That's artificial intelligence. So you have something very gross and granular that you can do as human. Then you have something micro specialized for which you need machines. And then you have a predictable pathway to avoid failures. That's artificial intelligence. And our natural intelligence lies in our ability to distinguish the 3 points. If we start throwing artificial intelligence on something we should do as a very human thing, it would fail. But if we apply artificial intelligence in machining in things we cannot as human or cannot do wonderfully enough, that's beauty. Now, if we were to start applying the right levels of robotics, automation, Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence on various activities that we perform in our professional lives, it is all about a number game. Because the moment you start mining data on when vaccine vials would break on a vaccine assembly line, you would need thousands and thousands of data across hundreds and thousands data points across hundreds and thousands of people who manufacture vaccines. There are close to 300,000 scientists globally that were involved in manufacturing of COVID vaccines. You need to teach all of them because they need to pick up these tools. And therefore, I think the number of where we could start, whether it is 50 or 5,000, 500,000 is not that important, as much as it is to understand where we should deploy artificial intelligence. It's not that we are going towards artificial intelligence. We don't have a choice because our activities have become extremely specialized, extremely vulnerable, extremely dangerous, as much as extremely economical. And once you bring in artificial intelligence, train the value chain of people that are involved in that line of activity, you have the right numbers popping up on its own. That's what we have seen in India. We started, thanks to EON Reality, with, I think, 184 people. And in less than 4.5 months, we have about 6,700 people opting for it, and universities totaling to about 500,000 asking for it. Now imagine 184 rising up to 500,000 in 4.5 months, and that's your answer.
Thank you. Thank you. I can't resist this small question. It's not in my script, but I heard, just a second, Mr. President, that it took 3 hours to develop the Moderna vaccine with AI, and it took better part of 6 to 9 months to test it, to validate that it's, and what I take from your answer is that this is a wonderful area where AI can be adopted, because traditionally to do all the permutation tests would have taken us, I don't know,
Ages.
years.
We wouldn't have got a vaccine without AI.
Yeah.
Nowhere in the world.
And, you know, that makes me actually sleep a little bit better, because the next one can be deadly. Imagine a Ebola type situation with a spreading effect that we had now. So I agree fully with, I just want to reinforce your point.
Absolutely.
For the audience. So we need, yeah.
But for AI, Dan, the vaccines wouldn't have reached the society because we needed billions of data points which couldn't have been arrived without giving the vaccine. So you needed to stimulate. Across the globe, simulations were the backbone. The same is with the new generation cancer drugs. I mean, you have drugs that had 90% toxicity, and stimulating them over data points, over animal models, over models without giving it to humans, we have reduced toxicity of cancer drugs. So AI is not a choice. It's a tool without which we cannot do what we are doing. And the sooner we realize this rather than countering it, the sooner we realize, so it's like salt. You add too much, you add too little, the dish is gone. We need to arrive at the right balance than deciding whether we should go for it or not.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Dr. Sharma. Okay, Mr. President, please.
There is a huge gap. Let me just give you one example. For example, in my country, we have like 70,000 teachers, 6 universities, and I don't know, probably 5,000 schools. And every year by year, we fight about the books, the learning books and everything, who is going to develop, who is going to print, how they're going to be modernized, and different teams, and always dramas between them, and so on and so on and so on. And one day, a very young boy, it was even below 18 years old, just decided to change totally the approach, started an initiative which is called I'm Learning. And that initiative,
sorry, you said
I'm learning.
Okay.
Yes, a young Bulgarian guy. The initiative I Am Learning was all about integrating people, young people, into bringing all those lessons in the internet, but in a different way. So within 2 years, I mean, he has everybody who is anybody in the country on his side. Nobody is looking at the books anymore, but we continue printing them for hundreds of millions, and print and print. And sometimes I'm very angry because I have 4 children at home. And when I see the one that is 11 and the other one that is 14, their school like bags, and they wear 20 kilos.
Good workout.
And then I bring, okay, go to school, go back, go to school. They don't need them. They go immediately when they come back home, they get the computers, go into I'm Learning, and get it much better, much faster, and so on and so on and so. And I just start calculating that gap, because we are using tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars every year for something children don't like, they don't get. They just make muscles out of this with the 15 kilo of back. But that's just the beginning, because on top of that, of course, now we have EON that is bringing a totally different dimension, and not just physically, but also psychology, because I imagine just what will happen, but we started also pilot projects in Bulgaria with some universities, and they're just calling and saying we want to have more, because the students want to have more, because they see a very big advantage and sense of what we're doing. And just a last fact, speaking about the gap. Recently, a lot of German car producers are coming also to my country because they're in trouble. As they're in trouble, just one very simple sentence. People believe, okay, electric cars, okay, replacing benzene and diesel. But the very truth is also that, by the way, we do have in the European Union totally new regulations, which we need to put a long time ago. And those new regulations are so much increasing the burden for diesel and benzene cars to reduce emissions and this and that, that makes them so expensive. So I would say by 2024, diesel and benzene cars in the European Union will go up the price at least 40%, for sure, at least 40%. And here is the point, by understanding this, they just ask a very simple question: how are we going to make profits? That's an industry of just Volkswagen is turning $300 billion per year. Where is the profit coming in the future? It's not going to come from the parts. It's not going to come from the engines. It's not going to. It's going to come from the platform you create so that you can make money moving your customer from point A to point B. And that's also linked very much to artificial intelligence, virtual and augmented reality. And now they're desperate about finding quick solutions. We negotiate with Bosch 5,000 computer programmers. Volkswagen is looking for 10,000 computer programmers. BMW is heavily in trouble. And trying even to move because of moving to oxygen. They're telling me, I just met the CEO of BMW 10 days ago. He was telling me with electric cars, we lost the game, but we're moving to the oxygen. That brings you totally different perspective, which you need to create and build up with the instruments of the future, which are existing today. And here is my point that if you see today how big European industrial conglomerates are rushing because they slept technological change, what about the schools? They're even more in trouble. And guess what? One day they will realize that just opening to the new platforms, they're not just addressing industries of the future, they're saving hell a lot of money. Thank
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And that goes back to Dr. Sharma's comment about the 1% we spend on teaching the future. We need in Europe to spend maybe many more percentage, and I totally agree with Mr. President. Okay, Imtiaz, you get to finish this question.
So for me, I think I need to start with the driver. The driver for me was my kids. Okay. So a very good point that you mentioned is the bags. Ridiculous idea is the idea that they're toppling over from a 20-kilo weight on the back of their back. But I think for me also, the quality of education, especially in the Middle East, it's developing. And we need to do better. We need to do it faster. We need to do it better. It isn't a shortfall of money. The investments are there. And people are spending a lot of money in these sectors. But the output isn't as high as we would like it to be. And if you want to call that perfectionism, I don't care. We just need to work harder. And I believe we can work harder. And so when I looked at my kids and I saw the amount of money that I was investing in their tuition, and I wasn't getting the quality of education that I would like to do, it's one of those sayings, as Mr. Ghani said before, be the change you want. So I decided, okay, if I'm going to be in education, I have to do it myself. I have to get involved, and I got to roll up my sleeves and try and see how we can make a difference. And this is where our organization turned around and really invested quite heavily within education. Of course, we started with executive education early. We realized very quickly that executive education is a little bit too little, too late. If you're going to make a difference, you have to start from the beginning. You have to start when they're about 4 years old and get that mindset ingrained into them. And of course, with these new technologies and robotics coming in, the mind change has to come from the earliest point. And the thing is, a bit that we need to try and develop is the adaptability, because we don't know what is tomorrow. We don't know what else is going to be. We don't, and like you mentioned earlier, there could be another pandemic that comes along or something 10 times worse. But how we adapted over the last 3 years has proven to us that we are capable. But again, it also highlighted there's a massive shortfall in our abilities to move forward and how we develop and how we move forward. So this is where we need to try and change and enhance our capabilities. And for us as an organization, this is where developing our own school, developing our own vocational training, our own academies, our own universities, now put the responsibility and the ownership of making that change on us. So now it's up to us to do that.
Wonderful. So maybe the role of the schools is to train elasticity in students to be quick and learn for change. And you know, big catastrophe, wars, unpleasant childhoods train kids, and if you look at who's successful, it's not the ones that live comfortably lives and of plentifulness, it's the ones that come from shortfalls and had to adapt quickly, survive or die. And maybe the role of schools is to instill that elasticity in people. Who knows? I know that we are over time, so we need to cut at this point. I would like to continue the dialogue in the coffee breaks. And one question that we will not take now, but we'll take later, is a question that what, in your view, and this is a question we'll debate tonight over dinner, are governments doing enough today to help citizens keep pace? And could you share an example? So you are excused from answering now, but I would challenge my colleagues here and the participants to answer the question. No, nothing is free in life. If the dinner is free, then you should be suspicious. Okay, with that, a grand applause. Oh. One little thing. I made a promise, Dr. Sharma, that you want to give out your book to our colleagues here. So would you like to say something?
Yes, and this is a book that's written on COVID, on how the world faced COVID, and this was written during COVID. It's there on Amazon. The name of the book is Made in Lockdown. It's a funny title, but it seriously chronicles a history of what was made in lockdown. And I'm just so glad, having given you a copy earlier, to share 2 more copies with the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'll get a signature.
They will do it tonight. Listen, thank you for dinner. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay.